Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for Gladiator II.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy. Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews.
Angry Andy.
Angry Andy Reviews. Angry Andy Reviews.
Don't make me destroy you.
So you'll have to forgive me for not recording in the studio again. It's full of other things at the moment, so I thought it best to retreat to a quiet corner of the house to go through this sequel that we never knew we wanted, and truth be told, we still don't know whether we want or not. But here it is, Gladiator II.
Cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel. Ah! Ah!
And it's set some 16 years after the events of the first Gladiator, which had, as you'll remember, some terrific battle scenes and a really compelling, interesting story, given some emotional grandiosity from powerhouse actors at the top of the game, giving superb performances all round and featuring just some truly wonderful moments, some epic dialogue, some memorable scenes, and a soundtrack that really made you feel every aspect of what the characters were going through. And then we come to Gladiator II, which is an absolute derivative mess. Don't get me wrong, I think the battle scenes, the fights in the film are terrific in places. They are set really well. I think they are really, really entertaining. Cue every other friggin' reviewer out there going, "Are you not entertained?" Well, I was. And then others going, "No, I wasn't." I'm not going to do that. This film had some entertaining moments in it, don't get me wrong. Mainly, though, that is when the battle scenes are in play, when the fights are in play. Everything else about Gladiator 2 for me is a bit of a wet lettuce. So Lucius was sent away at the end of the first Gladiator film for reasons that we didn't see in the original Gladiator film because they've just made it up for this. And he is living in Numidia with a wife, a nice lovely farm, and the Romans come, led by Pedro Pascal's general, and it all goes wrong. Lucius's wife is killed, and he is taken as a hostage, as a prisoner, and made to fight in the gladiatorial games by Macrinus, played by Denzel Washington, who is good fun for his part. And there's all sorts of scheming and, attempts to free themselves and all sorts of different bits and pieces, and it flows ably away. I was not invested in the story at all. I was not invested in the plot in any way, shape or form. It feels like The Force Awakens. It's almost as if Ridley Scott himself saw The Force Awakens and went, "Oh, I can do that with Gladiator. Yeah, I'll just repurpose certain bits and pieces and then add a different story on top of it, and we'll get away with it. And then we'll put Maximus's bloody armor in there, and everybody will be happy, right? Right?
You sell it's all bullshit.
Yes, and that's all this film feels to me. What always struck me and what remains with me about Gladiator, with Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Oliver Reed, Richard Harris, these fucking brilliant powerhouse actors and performers, is how there's such an emotional weight underpinning every aspect of the film, whether it's from Joaquin Phoenix's character, this seething villain who has a purpose, has a motive that's beyond the surface. There's other things going on there. We have the whole revenge plot with Maximus that develops and becomes so emotionally invested throughout everything, and he becomes the figurehead for rebellion. There's so much going on in that film. And all of it, all the action sequence, all the moments in that movie are underpinned by what is a well-written, emotionally impactful script and story. At every turn, there is something that is emotionally impactful in Gladiator. In this, there is no such thing. What little emotion there is washed over entirely so bloody quickly in favour of some nonsense, dribble fucking story arc. It's the lack of an emotionally impactful story with this. We just trudge along for 2.5 hours, really not amounting to anything. There's nothing memorable about this film, and when I'm talking about memorable, I'm not just talking about the battle sequences. I'm talking about character moments, the moments that make you stand up and go, "My God, that's hit me in a certain way. That means something." When you think of Gladiator, what do you think of? You think of, yes, the moments that everybody remembers. Are you not entertained? You know, the moments when he's fighting Commodus in the Colosseum. You know, we're thinking about the other smaller moments, how the brotherhood comes through, you know, Oliver Reed's moment when he's talking about, you know, how it all feels, and even how he is turned as a character, shadows and dust, key moments, memorable lines, memorable figures. This film has none of them. It has none of them, save for Denzel Washington, who is absolutely having a blast here. He's just Denzel Washington, but he's having an absolute blast. And aside from him, and maybe the bizarre fucking twin emperors, which I found utterly laughable. I mean, yeah, okay, they are, you know, we've had crazy fucking figures in history in the past, and yes, they are based upon real figures, I guess. But I've seen Caligula. This is fucking wet compared to Caligula, and that film is very wet. But again, they're just surface level. They're just wearing makeup and doing the best Joker impressions. All right, good for you. Well done. I don't give a shit. The only thing I really cared about of the two emperors entirely was the fucking monkey. Because I was worried about the monkey. Is the monkey going to get done in? I don't know. But historical accuracy is not something Ridley Scott really cares about anyway. We all know that. Just watch fucking Napoleon. But Pedro Pascal is absolutely wasted in what is a Maximus light character. Connie Nielsen, for her part, is removed of all the urgency and agency, even some of the intrigue that she held in the first film. Derek Jacobi is there because, okay, and he isn't given anything to do either. And we're removed of even interesting background characters like the announcer with that interesting voice from the first film. No, we're just given Matt Lucas just shilling out. Oh my God. I've finished watching Gladiator feeling a little bit empty, really. And that's the only way I can describe it. It has meant nothing to me. I've not been impacted in any way by Gladiator II, in any way, shape or form. Like I said, the battles are entertaining, they are really good, but are they as exciting as what we got in the first film? No, and I was questioning why, and I think it's because, again, there is no weight behind them. Yes, we get an epic battle scene in the Colosseum, on boats, and it looks really fucking good, but it kind of just wafts away. Really, we have it happens, and it kind of just drifts away like wood washing upon the shore. It just fails and signifies absolutely nothing. When I think about the battles in the first film, I think of Titus of Gaul, that fucking fight between Maximus and Titus, how there was so much energy behind it, there was so much tension and gravity behind that fight. And thinking to Gladiator 2, there is no gravity, there's no tension, there's no weight behind it, because it's all CGI nonsense. It's all wasted nonsense. Even with the gladiators themselves, that Paul Mescal's trying to rouse and everything here. There's no brotherhood. You don't get a sense of brotherhood that you've got from the first film. And again, going back to Paul Mescal, he does his best. I've seen a couple of films of him now. I don't really have enough to really, in my knowledge bank to really comment on his performance here. But he does his best, I think. The problem is that we're not really sure we should really care about his character. Maximus was a revered general, known throughout the whole fucking empire, and he was a simple man of simple taste who just wanted to get home. Everybody knew who he was, and when he entered the ring, the gladiator ring initially, you know, and he slayed all those people and fucking threw the sword down, people latched onto him in that movie, in that sequence. Like, oh, he's an interesting fellow, isn't he? He doesn't give a shit. And then when it came to the reveal, everybody in the Colosseum knew who he was and rallied around him because of that. But that's because he's a well-known general. Here, people don't know who the fuck this lad is. We do as an audience member because we're told he's Lucius. But the other people don't have a fucking clue. They're just like, oh, he's just that gladiator that really likes, you know, it does really well, isn't he? Oh, all right. So I'm struggling. Fundamentally, I'm struggling with this film in terms of why I really should have cared. And I think that's a massive problem for me. It seems to be a massive problem when we get sequels like this. You know, there's a way to do a sequel like this, I think. There's a way to sort of, you know, enhance the emotional resonance, the emotional depth and quality that we got with the first Gladiator film. And they just didn't do that at all with this film. They just didn't do it at all. And I'm left still wondering why we needed to have this film. And that's not a good sign for me. Like I said, it's perfectly entertaining in the battles, but everything else is an absolute bore fest. There, I said it. I was bored. I was utterly bored. And again, I think about Gladiator, and I watched the extended version of Gladiator when I rewatch it, and I'm intrigued by the scheming. I'm intrigued by the, you know, the senators trying to scheme and plot and overthrow Commodus, and then this comes in, and then they have this figurehead of Maximus who they can use, because they just want to use him initially. They don't care about who he is. They want to use him and use his name to save Rome. And it's intricate. It's interesting. It's well built. It's crafted. It's oh well, we did that in the first one. We can just change it a little bit and it'll work the same. Well, no, I'm afraid it doesn't, because you don't have that emotional weight. You don't earn that emotional weight. Seeing things happen to Lucius isn't enough to tell us why we should really care about him or his plight. There was more to Maximus, you know, and his betrayal that made us rally with him as an audience, that made us on his side, that made us want to fight with him in that film. And we don't get that in this film at all. So there we go. I think it's perfectly serviceable. But in terms of what the original film meant to so many people, I mean, even the soundtrack in this film is dreadful. The soundtrack for Gladiator was a huge success. It sold millions of copies, was in the top 100 for a vast amount of time. That song that plays at the end credits was fucking mesmerizing and still is to this day, and this film has the audacity to attempt to use that to the same effect, and it doesn't work. It feels hollow. And there we go. That's where I stand on this. A hollow, somewhat pointless endeavour that is mildly entertaining. Will you remember it in a few weeks' time? Probably not. Will you go back and watch Gladiator II in 25 years' time, like you have been doing with Gladiator? Absolutely not. And that's where I will leave this review. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please do give the video a like, subscribe to the channel for more reviews like this, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.